Every rider knows the basics. Wear a helmet, obey the speed limit, use your signals. But what if I told you there's a whole layer of motorcycle laws that no one talks about? Laws that could get you pulled over, fined, or even have your bike impounded, and you wouldn't even see it coming. Let's break them down one by one. Number 13, riding in disguise. It might sound like something out of a comic book, but in the Commonwealth of Virginia, it is actually illegal to conceal your identity while riding a motorcycle. The law specifically prohibits riders from wearing masks, hoods, or any facial coverings that hide their identity. That means no Halloween costumes, no balaclavas that cover the face, and no novelty helmets with full visors that turn you into a superhero. You could be stopped, cited, and fined for riding incognito. The reasoning behind this law isn't just about traffic safety, it's about public safety. Law enforcement wants to be able to identify riders in the event of an incident or crime, and fully obscured faces complicate that. The statute originally came into focus as a response to concerns over protesters and criminal activity where identity needed to be clearly visible. But even for everyday bikers, especially those cruising in during colder months with face warmers or in costume for an event, it still applies. There are some narrow exceptions. Face coverings may be allowed for religious reasons or due to medical necessity, but a sheriff or police officer is unlikely to overlook a mask that just looks cool or edgy. Riders traveling through or living in Virginia should take this seriously, because a bandana pulled up over your nose could be enough to get you pulled over. So before you gear up like your favorite action hero, take a second look in the mirror. In Virginia, your helmet might protect your head, but your mask could cost you your wallet. Now, if you thought your superhero costume was just for fun, wait until you hear about the next surprising regulation. Number 12, no gorillas allowed. Unusual passenger laws. In the state of Massachusetts, motorcycle law takes a turn from quirky to downright wild. Believe it or not, there is a statute that prohibits the transport of wild or dangerous animals, like gorillas, on motorcycles. While it might seem like common sense or something straight out of a joke, this law is real, and it highlights just how oddly specific traffic regulations can get. The idea behind this rule is clear: safety for both the rider and the public. Animals that are considered wild or potentially aggressive can pose a serious hazard on the road. Imagine an unpredictable animal panicking mid-ride. The result could be a crash, serious injury, or worse. Massachusetts doesn't leave that up to chance. This law applies even if the animal is restrained, seated in a sidecar, or otherwise secured. The mere act of carrying such a creature is enough to get you a ticket or even a court date. Now let's be honest. Most riders aren't strapping zoo animals to the back of their bikes, but the law doesn't just apply to gorillas. Any wild, untrained animal considered a public risk falls under the same restrictions. It also points to a larger truth about motorcycle laws. Many of them were written reactively, sometimes after a bizarre real-life incident. So even if it sounds absurd on paper, someone probably did it once. And it didn't end well. So whether you're riding solo or with a passenger, make sure your two-up situation involves a human, not a hairy beast. From wild animals to wild rides, let's explore a law that affects your bike's actual performance. Number 11, no wheelies. Keep both wheels on the ground. For older American riders who enjoy a little flash on the throttle, this one might sting. In multiple states across the country, including Maine and Illinois, it is illegal to perform wheelies on public roads. That's right. What many consider a thrilling display of skill or fun could land you with a fine, or worse, some serious legal trouble. And we're not talking about a small slap on the wrist either. Violators can face several $100s in fines, points on their license, and in extreme cases, even jail time. Why the harsh crackdown? The answer lies in control and safety. When your front wheel is up in the air, you've essentially halved your ability to steer and brake effectively. And for lawmakers, that's a big problem, especially when it endangers other drivers. These anti-wheelie laws are intended to prevent reckless riding and minimize high-speed collisions that often result from stunt riding on highways and busy streets. For riders who grew up watching Evel Knievel or practicing backlot stunts on older Sportsters, this can feel like a buzzkill, but law enforcement sees it differently. They see hospital visits, bike wrecks, and insurance claims. That's why even a brief lift of the front tire can trigger a traffic stop. We didn't just toss together a list, we broke it down so you're smarter on the road than most people ever will be. That deserves a sub, doesn't it? So whether you ride a stripped-down bobber, a trike, or a full-size touring machine with a V-twin engine, keep both wheels planted. Unless you're on a private course or closed track, pulling a wheelie on public pavement just isn't worth it. While stunts are off limits, some states offer a surprising lifeline at intersections when the lights refuse refuse to change. Let's break that one down next. Number 10. Dead red laws. Proceeding through red lights. If you've ever sat at a red light that just wouldn't change, staring into the empty road while your engine idled, this one's for you. In more than 20 states, including places like Illinois and Missouri, there's a little-known legal exception called the dead red law. It allows motorcyclists to proceed through a red light under specific conditions. The issue stems from older traffic sensors embedded in roadways. These sensors are designed to detect the metal mass of a full-sized car, but your 800-pound cruiser or your 650-pound cafe racer might not trigger the switch. That leaves bikers stranded, especially in late-night or low-traffic situations. Here's how the law works. If a motorcyclist approaches a red light and it clearly fails to detect the bike, they must wait a reasonable period of time, usually around 120 seconds. If the light still doesn't change and the intersection is clear, they are legally allowed to proceed. But here's the catch. It must be safe to do so. If there's cross traffic, pedestrians, or a cop watching you from the next lane, the dead red law won't protect you from reckless operation charges. The burden of judgment falls entirely on the rider. This isn't a green light to fly through every intersection. It's a safety net for riders stuck in outdated traffic systems. And while the law varies slightly by state, the principle remains the same. Motorcycles shouldn't be left waiting forever just because the sensor didn't do its job. Speaking of outdated systems, let's take a closer look at another law designed to keep you visible, whether it's day, night, or somewhere in between. Number 9. Mandatory headlight use. Always be seen. In the state of Connecticut, motorcycle riders are legally required to keep their headlights on at all times, whether it is broad daylight or the middle of the night. This law is not just about visibility for others on the road, it is about giving the rider every possible advantage when it comes to being noticed in traffic. Unlike cars, motorcycles are smaller and more likely to blend into a driver's peripheral vision. A constantly illuminated headlight cuts through that invisibility and helps reduce collisions caused by vehicles failing to yield or misjudging distances. This regulation applies regardless of weather conditions or time of day. Riders must ensure their headlight is fully functional, aimed properly, and does not use colored or tinted bulbs that reduce effectiveness. A strong white beam is the standard. If your headlight flickers, goes dim, or fails entirely during operation, that alone can be grounds for a ticket or a mechanical violation citation. And it does not matter if you're riding an old-school cruiser, a sport touring machine, or a fully dressed bagger, the law is the same. Some manufacturers build in automatic daytime running lamps, but not all older motorcycles have this feature. So if your bike is from a previous decade, you better check your switch before hitting the throttle. Enforcement is strict, especially in Connecticut and several other East Coast states, where failure to comply can result in fines or even being pulled off the road until the issue is corrected. This is a small but critical detail that separates the law-abiding riders from the ones who end up dealing with expensive consequences. Make sure your light is on before the key turns. Let's move from lighting to legality, because the wrong glow in the wrong place could cost you more than just a warning. Number 8. License plate lighting. Specific requirements. Most riders never think twice about how their license plate is lit, but in many states there are strict requirements that must be followed, and ignoring them could get you flagged by law enforcement. First and foremost, your plate must be illuminated by a white light. Not blue, not red, not green, just white. The bulb must shine directly and clearly on the license plate itself, not behind the fender, not under the seat, and definitely not just left to chance. Why does this matter? At night or in low visibility conditions, law enforcement needs to identify motorcycles just as easily as they would cars. An obscured plate, or one lit with dim or colored light, can trigger a traffic stop. This is especially enforced in states like Texas, Georgia, and Arizona, where lighting violations are often treated just as seriously as speeding or expired registration. Motorcycle customization culture often includes swapping out factory lights for LED strips, underglow kits, or tinted lenses. But when it comes to license plate lighting, going for style over function can land you in trouble. Some riders even try to relocate or flip their plates for a cleaner look. That too is a violation in most jurisdictions, and some states will consider it intentional obstruction, which can carry higher fines or additional charges. The safest route is to stick with a direct white bright light aimed squarely at the license plate, active anytime the motorcycle is running. And yes, that includes daylight hours in some states where visibility enforcement is taken seriously. So before you upgrade your taillight, remember this. Some lights get you noticed, others get you pulled over. Let's keep moving and talk about lane positions that are legal in some places. Number 7. Harley-Davidson side-by-side riding violation. Most riders are used to cruising shoulder to shoulder with a buddy, sharing the lane and soaking up the freedom of the open road. But in states like Montana and Arkansas, that familiar riding style could land you a ticket. These states enforce laws that require motorcyclists to ride in a staggered formation, or in some cases, strictly single file. The reasoning is simple. Riding side by side limits your ability to swerve or avoid hazards, especially when traffic gets tight or unpredictable. That split-second room to react can mean the difference between a smooth ride and an accident. This law often catches seasoned riders off guard. After all, riding in formation is a long-standing tradition in biker culture, but tradition doesn't always align with local laws. In fact, some group riding instructors even promote side-by-side formation for visibility and unity during parades or slow-speed events. That doesn't mean it's legal on public highways. In states with strict lane-sharing regulations, police may interpret side-by-side riding as unsafe vehicle operation. And when lanes are narrow or traffic is heavy, enforcement gets even more aggressive. If you're riding through multiple states, what's legal in one may not be in another. Even in places where side-by-side riding isn't explicitly banned, officers may still pull you over if they believe you're endangering yourself or others. So while it may look cool and feel like second nature, riding side by side isn't always worth the risk. When in doubt, stagger out. Number 6. Harley-Davidson passenger foot peg requirement. Riding with a passenger isn't just about throwing someone on the back seat, it's a responsibility. And in many states, if your bike doesn't have designated passenger foot pegs, it's flat out illegal to carry a second rider. Even if your passenger never uses them, the law still requires those pegs to be installed and functional. This rule is in place to ensure passenger stability and reduce the risk of accidents caused by slipping or imbalance during braking or turns. A lot of riders customizing their bikes for that stripped down, clean bobber look remove rear foot pegs for style. But the moment you let someone hop on, even for a quick run to the corner store, you could be cited for an equipment violation. And this isn't a slap on the wrist ticket either. In many states, riding without proper passenger accommodations can lead to license points or even temporary suspension if you're caught repeatedly. It's not just about pegs either. Some states also require a specific passenger seat, not just a padded rear fender or luggage rack. If your bike doesn't have a separate dedicated seating area, carrying a passenger could be seen as operating an unsafe vehicle. Officers won't care if your passenger is fine with it or if it's just a 5-minute ride. The law's the law. So if you're planning on carrying a passenger even occasionally, make sure your ride is fully equipped. That quick spin could cost you far more than a bar tab if you skip the basics. Number 5. Eye protection, required even with windshields. In several states across the United States, including New York, Minnesota, and Georgia, riders are required by law to wear protective eyewear, even if their motorcycle is equipped with a windshield. This comes as a surprise to many bikers who assume that a large, factory-installed windshield is enough to shield their eyes from wind, grit, and road debris. But according to state statutes, a windshield alone doesn't provide adequate protection. The logic behind the law is simple. Windshields are designed to reduce wind fatigue and deflect larger debris, but they do not fully cover the rider's eyes from smaller particles, insects, or projectiles kicked up by other vehicles. That's why states mandate the use of goggles, shatter-resistant glasses, or a helmet with an approved face shield for legal compliance. In fact, several jurisdictions go a step further, requiring that eye protection be impact-resistant and clear during nighttime riding. That means your dark-tinted riding shades might be fine during the day, but after sundown, they could get you pulled over. This law is especially important for riders cruising on back roads, highways, or through construction zones where the chance of airborne debris is high. It also applies whether you are riding a stripped-down bobber or a full-dress touring bike. And yes, this includes trikes and sidecar-equipped rigs. Many riders have received citations for wearing regular sunglasses that do not meet Department of Transportation safety standards, so it pays to double-check your gear before every ride. Ultimately, wearing proper eye protection isn't just about following the law, it's about keeping your eyes safe and your vision clear. That one decision could be the difference between a smooth ride and a dangerous situation on the road. Up next, we're moving from your face to your fender, because how your license plate is mounted might be breaking the law without without you even knowing it. Number 4. License plate orientation. No flipping allowed. In states like New Jersey and others with strict equipment enforcement, motorcycle license plate orientation is no small matter. A case that brought this into focus involved a rider who was fined simply for having his license plate installed upside down. While that might seem like a minor issue or even a personal customization choice, the law is clear. Motorcycle license plates must be mounted in a visible, legible manner at all times. The legal reasoning behind this law is grounded in public safety and law enforcement efficiency. Officers and traffic cameras need to be able to read plate numbers quickly and clearly, especially in high-speed or emergency situations. When a plate is flipped, hidden, obstructed, or even angled incorrectly, it can hinder investigations, delay emergency responses, and contribute to hit-and-run cases going unsolved. In most states, plates must be illuminated by a white, non-flashing light and positioned so that they are visible from 50 feet away at night. Some states even specify the angle of tilt allowed. Tampering with this setup by using vertical brackets, decorative covers, or unconventional mounts can result in citations, fines, or even bike impoundment depending on local laws. This regulation also impacts riders who install aftermarket fenders or tail tidy kits. If the modification alters plate visibility or light position, you're technically violating the law. It's something that can catch custom bike owners and weekend tinkerers off guard. So before you decide to mount your plate sideways to be different, think again. Keeping your license plate clean, visible, properly lit, and in the correct orientation is not just a formality, it's a legal requirement. Now let's move lower, literally, because the way you position your feet while riding could lead to a citation you never saw coming. Number 3. Feet on pegs. Mandatory while riding. It might seem like a small detail, but where you place your feet on a motorcycle matters more than you think, especially in states like California and Texas. These states have specific laws requiring riders to keep both feet on the foot pegs while the motorcycle is in motion. And yes, that includes those brief moments when you want to stretch your legs, shake out a cramp, or cool off your boots. If a law enforcement officer sees your feet dangling off the sides while you're rolling down the road, that's enough grounds for a citation. This rule exists because proper foot placement is tied directly to motorcycle control. Keeping your feet firmly planted on the pegs helps stabilize your body, improve balance, and gives you quicker access to the rear brake in emergencies. Hanging your legs off the side, even if just for a second, could mean you're not in full control of the bike, and that's what the law is really after. It hits newer riders the hardest. They're still getting used to the feel of the bike, and long highway rides might make them want to stretch out or shift around. But a few seconds of relaxation could cost you hundreds in fines or even points on your license. The same applies to passengers. If they don't have a place to rest their feet, you're not only risking their safety, you're technically breaking the law. So whether you're cruising through open country or crawling through city traffic, keep your feet where they belong, on the pegs, because comfort shouldn't come at the cost of control or a ticket. Now let's explore a law that affects your ability to navigate through traffic. Number 2. Lane filtering. Legal in select states. Lane filtering is one of those topics that sparks heated debates among bikers and car drivers alike. In most of the United States, weaving between vehicles stuck in traffic can earn you a fast-moving ticket. But in some states, like California and Utah, lane filtering is not only legal under specific conditions, it's also encouraged as a way to keep things moving. In California, lane filtering is fully legal and written directly into the state's vehicle code. Riders are allowed to move between slow or stopped cars as long as it's done safely and at a reasonable speed. In Utah, it's referred to as lane filtering and is allowed only when traffic is completely stopped at a red light and the motorcyclist stays under 15 miles per hour. Arizona has recently passed a similar law with slight variations, and other states like Oregon and Montana are currently experimenting with the idea. Why does this matter? Because motorcycles are small and agile. When traffic piles up, bikers can get boxed in between larger vehicles, increasing the risk of rear-end collisions. Filtering allows motorcycles to escape gridlock safely, provided the rider knows the local rules. But here's the catch. These laws are hyper-local. local. What's legal on one side of a state line might be completely illegal on the other. That means you need to know exactly where you are and what's allowed before sliding between lanes. So if you're traveling across state lines, don't assume that filtering is universally accepted. It's a powerful tool for riders, but only in the states that say it's okay. Use it wisely and legally, and it might just become your new favorite way to beat the jam. Now let's look at a law that could leave you stranded if you're not careful. Number 1. Running out of gas. Illegal in some areas. It sounds ridiculous, but in certain cities across the United States, running out of gas on your motorcycle is actually against the law. One of the most well-known examples is in Youngstown, Ohio, where local regulations make it illegal for any motor vehicle, including motorcycles, to come to a stop on the roadway due to an empty fuel tank. While it may seem like just another obscure rule buried in city codes, the logic behind it is surprisingly practical. Lawmakers say the intent is to keep traffic flowing, prevent unnecessary hazards, and ensure riders maintain proper responsibility over their machines. For motorcycle riders, especially those cruising across state lines or heading out on longer trips, this law can sneak up on you. Unlike cars, most bikes have smaller fuel tanks, some holding just 3 to 5 gallons. That means planning your fuel stops is not optional, it's essential. And while running out of gas might not seem like a criminal offense, getting caught in an area like Youngstown could result in a citation or even towing fees. From a safety perspective, an empty gas tank doesn't just leave you stranded, it puts you in danger. Being stuck on the side of a highway or blocking an intersection exposes you to distracted drivers, weather, and poor visibility. Plus, pushing a 700-pound touring bike a few blocks uphill to the nearest gas station isn't something anyone wants to try, especially not older riders with physical limitations. So whether you're riding a Softail, Road King, or one of those big V-twin trikes, make fuel checks a regular habit, because in cities like Youngstown, it's not just an inconvenience, it's a ticket waiting to happen. So there you have it, 13 motorcycle laws that most riders don't even know exist, but could cost you big time if you're not careful. Which one surprised you the most? Drop it down in the comments. We'd love to hear your story, and if you found this helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. More straight-talking motorcycle breakdowns are coming your way, and you won't want to miss a mile of it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.